hello, Kyber K family. How are you this evening? I am Mezzo here, solo tonight. Van, yes, is in Oregon, which sadly he forgot to specifically mention to me, I think, at one point because I didn't find any chats with it in there. But, Mezzo likes to do things last minute, didn't I? I'm good. I'm good. I've hosted shows alone before. I've done my own Twitch stuff alone, and it works out just fine. So I hope you're all doing well. You may notice that I'm quite red. Hi, Wrath. Hi, Tai Wong, and hi, Night Vision. I got sunburned last Friday. Pretty good. And my whole forehead is like a nice glistening red. And it kind of hurts to rub on. So I just didn't feel like putting like any makeup on it just to hide it. And I thought, it's all right. We all know each other well enough that I can just be sunburned in front of you. You see that? Yeah. Hi, Duran. I'm sunburned, nice and good. I was just telling everybody. But it's good. It happens. It is what it is. If my camera looks really nice, I got a new camera. I'm so excited. Hi, Fat and Black Connection. How are you? I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited too. I enjoy doing these. Yeah, ouch. I definitely got a good sunburn. I went 4 hours in the sun and forgot to put on sunblock. Oops. Anyway, so thank you for coming in tonight. We're going to start with our nerdy news. You guys know we start with our nerdy news every Wednesday, where Mezzo here goes and looks up a couple news stories and tries to give you some interesting tidbits. First, on your nerdy news, Ozzy Osbourne Hulk Hogan passed away. So the Black Sabbath singer passed away this last week, only a few weeks after his farewell show. The entertainer and musician revealed in 2020 he had Parkinson's disease after he suffered a fall. Now, I haven't seen any specifics on how he had passed yet, but I don't specifically go looking for how someone passes. We just knew that he's had a lot of health issues in the last few years. And so we just hope that, let's make me, oh gosh, I'm super big. I'll lean this way. We'll just hope that we just, send well wishes for him and his family at the passing. And Hulk Hogan, a WWE wrestler known for bringing the wrestling stunt sport to such a height of popularity, passed away at the age of 71 this week after cardiac arrest. Now, there wasn't any conclusion on what the cardiac arrest, what was caused by. It could have just been a heart attack itself. But you can check out more about the two articles below and about their passing and more. One is by Mark Kennedy of the Associated Press, and one is by Mark Raimondi. We had a lot of Marks tonight. Of ESPN. So I will pop those in the chat in just a second. But you can check those out in your free time. I think my camera is having issues. I can't tell why. Or it's my internet specifically. As long as you guys can hear me still, that's really important. But I can keep playing with things and make sure that it's working correctly. All right, let me see. Is it my, it could be. Don't think it's this. Nope, it's not that. I don't have a VPN. Usually when I have a VPN turned on, it starts to freeze like that. I'm going to check my speed test real quick, you guys. Because that is not, I shouldn't be freezing. Hopefully I'm not freezing for you. Please let me know in the chat if I am freezing for you. I'd really appreciate knowing that. All right, next on our nerdy news, while the speed test is going, is San Diego Comic-Con Publishing Panel. Now, the nerdy news this week I really wanted to bring something Star Wars related. So at the San Diego Comic-Con Publishing Panel for Star Wars, many things are listed to be coming out, such as children's books to comics, both action and even a little horror. Check it out at the article below, written by a StarWars.com team. And, let me know in the chat. Have you read any of the books? Are you wanting to? Does it sound interesting to you? I want to know. Because I've actually never read any of these official books that are canon and such for, excuse me. Yeah, my speed's fine. So I must be just me tripping. So I haven't read any of those myself. But I think it'd be kind of fun to get into them a little bit. Oh, gosh, I just have to find the time. Isn't that how it is? Finding the time. For sure. All right. So next, guys, we have James Kaiser, our producer for Flow of the show. He brings us a flow every week. And this week has been one of my favorites that we've had on the show. She's a lot of fun to watch and very mesmerizing. Oh, Fat Black. I've been reading The High Republic and highly enjoy it. That's awesome. Kevin Hogan, how's the children content doing in Star Wars? Hard to imagine a war story without any character getting hurt. Well, I'm assuming a lot of children's books that are taken from something like Star Wars is going to have a small side adventure like with Grogu or something like that. They're going to have small little side adventures where nothing terrible is at stake, but it's something appropriate for a young age. Night Vision says, finally watching The Boys. I watched the first season and didn't want to watch anymore. It's not my type of show. For me, a lot of it felt like it was more written for shock factor rather than and the storyline that I enjoyed. But that is just me personally, and that's okay. Everyone else is welcome to watch it and enjoy it. That's perfectly fine. Okay, again, James Kaiser brings our flow every week, and this week is FlowMies. And I've always really enjoyed some of her moves and liquidity in her moves, the fluidity of it. So please enjoy FlowMies. All right, that is your Flow of the Show. That is FlowMies. You can check them out at the link in the description or in the chat where I just popped it for the live stream. Guys, yeah, you're hooked, Night Vision. I'm glad you're hooked. Before we bring our guest on, you love some hoop tricks. Hoop tricks are really cool. I actually went and saw Fantastic Four earlier today. And if you want a little tiny spoiler-free review, in a sense, it had some heart in it. It was a lot of fun. It was very fast-paced. But it had like the perfect amount of the slower moments that you didn't ever feel like it was ever slow. The post-credit scenes were pretty weak. The mid-credits, the post-credit, no, mid-credits one was when I was like, okay. And he's like, I expected it, kind of a thing. Nothing ever shocking. I don't think those are ever shock value. I think it's always just like a little preview for what might be coming in a future film in the story. So, but I really enjoyed the story overall. Some of the special effects had me like the uncanny valley feeling sometimes, but it didn't really take me out of it enough that I didn't enjoy it whatsoever. So yeah, it worked out perfectly fine for me and I enjoyed it. All right. So now we will bring our guest, guys. This person leads a convention that I'm so impressed by some of the stuff that they got going on their website and everything. So please welcome Mark Helton, founder of Kaboom-Con. Hi there, Mark. How are you this evening?
Living the dream one day at a time. Yourself?
Oh, I'm fantastic, aside from my bright tomato face.
Hey, sounds like you had a good time. That's, if you're having fun, you're number one.
I did. And I got to take pictures with my camera practicing, not the new one, but I took my usual camera that I've had for years and I, practiced with kids jumping in the pool and continuous shooting. So like it takes like 10 shots at once kind of a thing. So that's like where I found a lot of my fun. I'm not a big fan of swimming personally in that sense. So they were all swimming. I just took pictures. But it was a lot of fun and it was 4 hours and I didn't think about, I thought I was in the shade, but apparently my forehead was not. So I got a good amount of burn from that. But all right, let's get started on getting to know you and some of the Kaboom-Con and all of its wonderful attributes with it. So
sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to start Kaboom-Con?
So my background really comes from the theater world. Growing up, I was an actor, singer, dancer. I loved performing. I loved doing lighting design and directing. And as I got older and came back to theater after a hiatus, I really got more involved in the production aspect. Still acting, but mostly producing and directing. And so when it comes to Kaboom-Con specifically, the best way to describe it is a spite con. What does that mean? Well, I attended a con a few years ago that was extremely poorly run. It was disappointing. I mean, the organizer had claimed, oh, there's going to be 2,000 people, and they originally presented facility A is where the event will be held, and then about a week before it changed, and all of this to say there was maybe 20-ish total booths, and I think the entire weekend, which was a 3-day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe 100 people showed up. And I looked at my business partner. Yeah. I looked at my business partner. I said, I think we could do this better. And he said, yeah, of course we could. And I said, no. I think we could. And I think we should. So truth be told, that is the reason why I decided to do it, was out of spite of that terrible event. And yeah.
I think that's fun. I mean, to think that something, like usually it's like, oh, I want to bring all the nerds together and stuff, but to have it come from spite, I think it's just hilarious, and I love that. What was so that was your original spark and inspiration for it too, was just getting petty, getting a little bit petty, like, hey, we can do this better. Yeah. And a lot of wonderful things have come from it. Look how much it's grown. It's amazing. Now, where did the name Kaboom-Con come from?
So at the time when I was first trying to figure out how I was going to do this, I reached out to a friend of mine who he hosts a entertainment radio show called Pop Culture Kaboom. And I said, hey, Jimmy, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Do you have any ideas? And he was really instrumental in helping, because one of the things that they talk about on their show every week is specifically around conventions and the different ones that are taking place. And so I knew he'd have a lot of insight. And we decided to do it in Carson City. Originally, I had been looking at possibly doing Reno, and he convinced me to do Carson City because one had never been done there. And for me, that was a huge selling point, to be the first and only. And so I basically asked if I could steal his namesake then, since his show is called Pop Culture Kaboom. Then we could do a direct tie-in, make him like the brand ambassador or something, which he was all for. So we stole part of the name and called it Kaboom-Con.
That's fantastic. That's like a just nice way to tie it in and be like, hey, now you're kind of with us too. So, and he got to probably, reap any kind of rewards of the name being tied together and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So. Now, what were some of the biggest challenges in launching the very first one?
I would say they are the same challenges today as they were then, and that is finding people that are willing to help. Mm-hmm. This is a very grassroots kind of convention. I am personally basically fully funding this event, and so I don't have resources to pay people as much as I would like for helping. I can, hey, let me get you lunch, let me help you with a hotel room or something like that. If you're coming
like
from
a barter too, in a sense.
Yeah, but I genuinely, if I was to put a percentage on 100% of the con and what's needed to get to day of, I do 95% of what is needed, all on my own, and that is very challenging. And it still is today. So that would be what it is.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I understand. I was telling a little bit to Mark about earlier when we did KyberCon 3. Van gave me like a 5-week notice and was telling me I was managing it, and I had never done anything like that. So I got a crash course in like writing a press release and finding a place to rent. It was just insane to think about. And the reason it was a specific time was one of our guests is an actor who lives in Korea, and he was in the area at that time. A lot of people watching might remember John B. Michaels. He's a friend of the channel. He's been on here as a guest, and even as an occasional, like when we had we have a show that we had called After Dark. It was like sometimes heavier topics were discussed, and he would appear on that sometimes too.
Hmm.
So we had one specifically set for when he was available, but we actually ended up having a decent amount of guests and stuff, which was really nice, and I had a blast doing it. And so I can imagine about putting one together and doing a lot of work for it. Now, do you currently have a team that helps support for it? Do you still do like 95% of it?
Yeah, so I would say for this year, that percentage has probably gone down just a little bit. I've got a couple of people that are really key, mostly when it comes to the day of, for setup
Mhm.
and for helping to wrangle the special guests and things of that nature. But when it comes to really dealing with ticketing, with vendors, with all that kind of stuff, that is still me, which is part of why I recently decided to invest in a web-based software called Eventany.
Okay.
And some people know them, use them, and really, I'm not sponsored by them. I promise I'm not trying to do it this way, but it's the truth. It really is a one-stop shop. I'm able to do my floor plan with a map. I'm able to do the vendors, sponsors, volunteers, scheduling, event scheduling, everything. It is expensive, to be clear, because I got the pro version because it really gave me access to everything. But if you are someone that is seriously contemplating trying to do this and you don't have a ton of help, this has been, we just switched to pro probably 3 months ago, and it has been so immensely helpful for me, and it's only going to make future events that much easier and better.
That's great, because the more you get to use it, the easier it'll be to use too itself.
Exactly.
Now, were there any moments that you thought it might not happen?
No. So last year,
That's a great thing that it's a no.
yeah. So last year was amazing. Where we are doing the event, it's the Carson City Community Center. And last year, when we wanted to do it, my original plan, like I said, it was a spike con, so I was just thinking small. We were renting the gym of this facility, which was a 10,000 square foot gym. I looked at it and I was like, okay, I can fit easily, 20 vendors in there. We'll set up a stage for some cosplay stuff. I was thinking very small scale, but I just wanted to show that I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And within a week of us announcing and opening up the vendor applications, we were sold out. We'd hit 20.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I need to figure something else out here. So I reconfigured the floor plan. I was like, okay, I can fit 40 vendors in here still. Let's see what happens. And I did some adjusting with smaller booths and whatnot. And we got to 40 within 2 more weeks.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. I started talking to the community center, which has a 550 seat theater in it. And I hadn't originally intended to use it. But I was like, well, I could use that for panels, presentations, and then I could
Mm-hmm.
move a lot of that stuff out of the gym. So I added that on. And that gave me the ability to add on about another 20 booths. Those were sold. Okay,
Wow, that's
this
fantastic.
this is getting pretty serious. So I added on their west side parking lot, which is outdoor, no coverage, and ended up selling another 20-ish booths out there. So all this is a first time out, 1 day event. We had almost 80 vendors. We had almost 1,000 attendees. And it was done, I think, so well that the local tourism bureau, Visit Carson City, came alongside and said, we want to sponsor next year. So this year, huge windfall for me and for
Mm-hmm.
Kaboom-Con, because they are sponsoring, which means we're not paying for the facility this year.
Yes, that's great. That is fantastic. That is just hearing like someone doing that and succeeding as well as you guys have. That's really fantastic and wonderful to hear. We got a question from Say Wong, which is something similar I was going to ask later. Is where do you see Kaboom-Con in 7 to 8 years down the line?
It's hard. So there's I definitely want to keep Kaboom-Con, this iteration of Kaboom-Con, based in Carson City where it is. If it continues to grow, and I'll go into more detail about this year as we continue on the conversation, but if we continue on the trajectory that we are, we're going to outgrow the space literally probably next year. And what does that mean? Well, there are other facilities in Carson City that we could tack on to make as part of the event, but there is nowhere for us to expand at the current location. And there's also nowhere else in Carson City that can really fulfill our needs. And so it's quite a bit of a challenge to, I feel that there's a precipice, and we're not going to be able to expand beyond that, unfortunately. Which out of one side is frustrating from a business standpoint, but when I really come back to remembering what the point is, which really we want, the concept of what I'm doing is kind of I call it an entry level con for those people that are con curious. Bringing a larger concept of a con to a small community that might not get it, because Carson City, it's the state capital of Nevada, but it gets no love, frankly. Reno gets everything, and Vegas really gets everything, right?
Yeah.
So I'm bringing some of these major comic book artists like Brent Anderson, Eisner Award winner on, God Loves Man Kills X-Men and Astro City, who doesn't go to anything. He doesn't go to San Diego anymore. He doesn't go to any events, but he's coming to mine. Chris Moranin, who worked on Wonder Woman and Nova and is amazing in his own right. Donna Gio from Spawn and the DC Pride series. We're bringing these big names. If you're really a comic book fan, these names, and we're getting them to this small little event in Carson City.
That's great. Well, that means yeah, like you said, it's a good problem to have in a sense for a business. That's why, I know a lot of people for Stack Anime, a lot of vendors get put on the wait list because they can only fit so many where they've been having it. Now, what makes Kaboom-Con different from other conventions?
What I just said, ultimately.
What you just said. All right.
Really just the fact that we are never going to try. I'll put it to you this way. I went to an event earlier this month as a vendor, and to me, that was the person who was organizing it was not an organizer. They're a promoter. They're there to sell as many booths, to line up as many of whatever they can. I'm trying to organize something for the community. I'm trying to talk to the people that are coming to the event and before and after to understand what they want. What do you want to see? What do you want? What would bring joy to the community? And so because I live here, I live in South Reno, which is 20 minutes outside of Carson. For me, it's also, what would I want to see if I know I can't get William Shatner, right? I know I'm not going to get some of these huge names in the comic book industry. I'm not going to get anybody that's currently in a Marvel film. Maybe Jeremy Renner. But
yeah, he's in Tahoe.
He's in Galena, which is technically Reno. So
well, there you go.
We actually talked to him about this year, and unfortunately, he's filming something. But maybe next year.
When he's not filming something. When they give you that kind of opening of the specific reason being well, obviously Jeremy Renner's filming things because he's an actor, but the only reason being that he couldn't come would be filming, kind of gives you thinking maybe next year if he's not filming something.
Yes. And we also decided to work with Renovations, which is his nonprofit up here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, trying to lay
he's going to the show with it too.
Yep.
So yeah, when my sister is she has a cabin in Tahoe, and if I remember correctly, when he got injured, he was in Tahoe. Is that correct? If I remember that,
he got injured at his home, which is in Galena, which is in
Galena.
It's just outside of Tahoe. It's not far, but
okay.
It was basically a run over by a snowplow.
Yeah. I remember. I've seen documentary and watching lots of interviews with him, and his recovery is absolutely amazing. Now, when it comes to choosing guests, artists, and vendors, how does that work? When it comes to, I know vendors apply, but when you have panelists and guests and artists come, how do you, find someone you're interested in and message them? How do you choose those that you would like to have come on?
I believe in utilizing the resources at my disposal, and so if I get one friend or one person, I'd say, hey, you got any contacts that you think might be a good option? And I can't tell you. So, I think you guys have interviewed before Lawrence and Diego Iriarte. They're a really great father-son comic book artist duo. They've worked on products in the past like Lumpia and a lot of other things, but they have a lot of connections, and they are now a part of the 97 and Now family with Icy Sound Comics.
That's
and I've said, let's, this sounds terrible, but let's use and abuse all the context that we have. And so, again, Brent Anderson and Chris Moranin, these two gentlemen have worked with Lawrence and Diego as mentors to them. And so, all right, let's use and abuse that contact. Odin Abbott from Odin Makes is going to be joining us this year, who's an amazing prop artist. A buddy of mine who's helping with the event this year, knew him from the convention circuit, and he was like, let me see if he's available. And
there you go.
And so, yeah, I'm just going to use and abuse every resource I have.
And 100% makes sense. When Van brought me on the channel, I had been a moderator in a Discord community. If you guys don't know what Discord is, it's like an online forum for the YouTube channel New Rockstars. Mm-hmm. And they do all like Easter egg breakdowns and scene by scene, like all the clues and stuff, and like Marvel, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. And I was able to bring two of the people they had on the show to that convention that we had as KyberCon 3. So using the connections and seeing who can reach who. So, and that was really great to meet them in person and say hi and stuff like that. So, hi, Brent Wakefield. Good to see you back. All right. So what's one of your favorite fan interaction stories that you heard from past Kaboom-Cons?
Well, since we've only had the one, so I would say that last year, probably about a month after the event, I got reached out to on our Facebook page by somebody who had attended, that, had gone to the cosplay contest specifically and had said that they wished they had participated because they've always wanted to, but every time they go to an event, it's always so huge and they feel like it's, such a big production. And, it kind of, some people might take it as a backhanded compliment, but that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're not trying to go for the overproduced product. We want people to feel comfortable. We want them to feel like this is a place for me to come, be comfortable, feel safe, and have a good time. It's not about putting on the pizzazz, if you will.
Pizzazz. I like the way you said it. I'm a fellow theater person too, so that's how I got into like being on streaming and entertaining people and stuff like that. And when we did KyberCon 3, yes, it wasn't like a huge production. We weren't like going for crazy stuff like that, because people who go to that sometimes will feel lost in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And not know what to do or where to go. And so we literally just had one big gym building, and that's where we had the cons were on the stage, like behind a curtain. Mm-hmm. And those weren't like, you didn't have to buy tickets for any of it. It was all free. And then the gym floor is where all the vendors were. And it was a nice, small, like people knew each other, that kind of thing. That was really fun to be a part of. Now, what's something people maybe not realize goes into running a convention like this? Anything that, because I know you mentioned how much financially that you contribute to it. Is there anything else that people might not realize?
I would say, again, this is going to sound terrible, but I'm an open book. I'm an honest person. So if I ever offend, I apologize. Not my intention, but vendors are needy. And that's just a reality. And I get it, having been one and still am at times. I try not to be, especially since starting this, because, if I have 80 vendors and all of them are even mildly needy, it can take up a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And I have a full-time day job, right? This isn't all I do. I've got a wife, I've got a kid, I've got, all of these other things going on in my life. And, any given day, I've got 5 to 10 emails from vendors asking questions, and 90% of the time the answer is, did you look at the website? And I usually don't put it that way, but I send communications regularly. Everything they should need is probably on the website. And that's where it's like, I can't hold your hand. I can't lead you to the promised land. That's not what I'm here for.
It's kind of like so every time Van makes a guest chat on Facebook for a guest coming on the show, I send them what's called our show sheet.
Mhm.
And that has all of questions that are most likely going to be asked, kind of how the night goes and what we need from them. Because before I made that, I'd have to try to physically tell them and they'd still ask questions. And so I kind of went back and looked at most common questions and stuff like that and put them on that sheet. And so if someone says, well, what about this? Well, did you look at the show sheet? So it feels like that kind of same thing. And so when someone actually follows through and sends me an email with stuff like you did or whatnot, I get like, somebody read the show sheet. Yay.
I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, I know. And so I don't want to waste time, both people's times just having to answer. So I use the thing that I already made and took time to make. How far in advance do you have to start planning each one of these? Or because we've only done one, but yeah.
Truth be told, I'm already planning next year's. So that probably started, I would say around May. Once I, in my head, when we finished the first one, I told my buddies, if you will, my business partners, I said, hey, here's what I think we're gonna do for year 2, and we'll look and see how it's going to decide whether or not we do a year 3. And I will say, probably about around April, I was concerned. Looking at the floor plan, it was nowhere near as full as I felt like it needed to be. We had a ton of open booths, and I basically said, okay, I'm gonna throw out $250 in marketing and see what happens. And if we don't see a good enough return on it, then we may have to decide not to do a year 3. And I can honestly say I threw that $250 in marketing purely on Facebook and Instagram, just because I wanted to see what would happen. And within 2 weeks, I had 20 more vendors sign up.
That's fantastic.
So that's where, people don't like to spend money. I don't like to spend money, but I also recognize that sometimes to make money, you have to spend money. So that $250 I spent on marketing turned around to be about $5,000 windfall in booth sales.
That's
so
wonderful.
Yeah. So, the goal in marketing usually is going to be a 5-to-1 return on your investment. So for me, 250, I was expecting, maybe 10 booths, which would be around, $1,200. That would be the return on my investment. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. I mean, just because I remember doing Kaboom-Con 3, trying to use Facebook and not quite understanding how their marketing stuff works and making sure that I was choosing local places, like local, like when it shows the ads to people, that it's doing it for people who are nearby, because people in New York are not going to want to see something that's for California,
ChatGPT.
Yeah, I did not have access to that at that time, but in the future, if I ever do something like that again.
I use it. I use it for everything.
I don't use it for anything art related, in the sense like having to create things for me. Mark and I were having a discussion about this before the show. Like, I use it to help me with the descriptions on things, or what hashtags to use for something, and feedback on some stuff. And that's mostly it. But it's really helpful when you're in a crunch and like I was earlier, and need to use it real quick. Now,
questions you're asking.
Yeah. Well, I'm playing it up a little bit, trying to put it in my own words, in a sense. Now, when I told you a little bit about when I did, so there's Van O'Brien. Was up, Kyber fam? Much love. And 15. He's much love from 15 near Weed, California. Great interview, Mez and Mark. Right, thank you. It's like when I did Kaboom-Con 3 as a manager, you're running around I'm running around like crazy, making sure this person's doing this and things are happening on time, and nothing was perfect. It was my first time. Do you find yourself running around like that, or do you ever get to enjoy the actual convention itself?
No. I now again, last year was first year and it was one day. I was anywhere and everywhere. I would say the only time that I had where I wasn't running around, one of the panels that we did was on 97 & Now Productions audio dramas. And we had a bunch of our voice actors who came into town, and, we had them up on stage, and they did about an hour and a half panel. And because I'm also a voice actor on one of the shows, I popped in. Like, they had a spot set up for me, luckily on the end, and I popped in. I slid in on the end, and I was there for maybe 15 minutes to kind of answer any questions from a producer standpoint or director standpoint or voice actor standpoint. And then and we had our friends from Distance Nerding there, and they were hosting that page. Yeah, and then I slid out because I got a call on the radio and I had to be somewhere. But that was literally about it, maybe 15 minutes to really sit for a minute and kind of try to relax. But even then, I was working.
Yeah, in a sense, I can understand that. Now, you mentioned the audio drama. You were talking about some really cool stuff about it. Can you share about the audio drama a bit?
Sure. So right now, our major audio drama that we have out there is called Oak Bridge. It's currently in season 2, episode 3 just dropped on Friday. We've got 7 more weeks of releasing. That'll take us to 10 episodes. It is currently in the top 10 of all sci-fi audio dramas in the world, and it is in the top 30 of all fiction audio dramas in the world. So it is doing extremely well. Last year, when season 1 was coming out, we got into the top 10 of all fiction and in the top 3 of all sci-fi. So hoping to get our spot back up there after maybe another episode or 2 drops. But it's a hugely successful show, especially when 90% of the people who work on it are on a volunteer basis. So I have to give shout out to Joe Bly, who's our audio wizard, does amazing things. The director on the entire series, James Lewis, did a fantastic job. The creator, Ashley Dean, who wrote the majority and significantly outlined the entire series. It's just a great show. If you like Stranger Things, I would highly suggest checking this show out. We also, 97 Now Productions just greenlit another audio drama called Secrets of a Hawaiian Mermaid, which is written by J. Anthony Hart. It's a novel that's available out there, and he is actually taking his own novel and rewriting it into an audio drama format. And right now we've got it mapped out for probably 2 seasons at about 11 episodes apiece. And we're in very early production. I think we've got 2 or 3 episodes written, and we'll be going to casting probably later near the end of this year for that show.
That's fantastic. If you guys want to check out Oak Bridge series, I just popped a link into the chat and you can check all that information out. And then there was something else that you had mentioned earlier that I really want to hear more about is IC Sound Comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you share some about that too?
Yeah, so I mentioned Lawrence and Diego Iriarte, dynamic father-son duo, who actually have been down in San Diego this weekend showing off their portfolios. And it sounds like they're probably going to be picking up some work. So good on them.
That's fantastic.
But Lawrence is really a comic book veteran. He used to do ghost artwork for many comics back in the day. And his son is hugely up and coming. And Lawrence and Diego were both actually honored last year at the San Diego Comic-Con Museum for the work that they've already been doing. Well, I've known Lawrence since I was in junior high. And, he's about 10, 12 years my senior. And we got together, I don't know, about 2 or 3 years ago at an event. And I kind of asked him, hey, how are you doing? Are you working on your own stuff? And unfortunately, he had spent probably the last 10 years really working on other people's stuff still. And he's like a mad genius. He has all these brilliant ideas for stories. And I said, when are you going to do your own stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have the time and I don't have the resources. And I said, what if you had the resources? What if you had somebody that was willing to financially support, but that means you've got to do your stuff, focus on your stuff. And him and his son, and there's a third gentleman named Justin, Jam the artist, they powwowed and said, is this something we're finally ready to do? And we came up with Icy Sound Comics. And the concept really is, some people in the older generations might remember something called Power Records. You'd buy a comic book, it'd come with a record, and it would basically be that story, and you could listen to it and read it at the same time.
It's actually
Well,
similar to what my son does. He reads a book and listens to the audiobook at the same time while he's reading.
yeah. So that's, bringing together what I was already doing with the audio dramas with now bringing in a comic book concept. It was like it made sense. Let's put them together. So we have a series of multiple different properties that we're looking at rolling out over the next period of time. And at Kaboom-Con, there will be some major announcements, especially around our headlining property, I would say, which is the Fantastic Worlds of Steamboat Willie, starring, of course, Mickey Mouse. And for those out there thinking, oh, this is just another rip or whatever, the one thing that's going to differentiate us is that we, Lawrence and I, very strongly believe in staying true to Walt Disney's vision of Mickey. And so really what this story is it takes place about 20 minutes after Steamboat Willie, the cartoon, ends. Well, where did they go next? What did they do next? And it's really quite an epic adventure, in line with stories like the Odyssey. It's amazing what they've come up with. We released an ash can last year, which was about 16, 18 pages of kind of like showing off the artwork and showing off, the direction of where we're going. But we're very happy with where we're heading with it. And then we also have another property called the Charisma Chronicles, which there's this character who was come up with by Diego and a buddy of his who goes by JD Charisma. And it basically chronicles this character in multiple different film genres and kind of going through adventures. It's a very interesting concept. And then the third major one that we'll see movement on here in the very near future is Fantastic Furious Fury Frog, which is kind of our Spider-Man, for lack of a better descriptor.
I like that. That's fun. We got Van posted in the chat saying we should audition for the audio drama.
You absolutely should.
I actually have been starting to treat my room. I have sound panels on the wall here. I have a thick blanket here. I have another thing to put up here and another recording blanket so I would be like wrapped in it, basically.
Nice.
But I'm slowly working on it. Like my entire office, none of you can see it. It's not allowed. It's a bit of a mess of me like completely moving my desk and moving things around to be able to get to do that. But it's like I ended up having that big work event I told you about that was every day this last week. And next thing I know, I'm like, I just didn't have time to get to any of it. So that's just kind of how that was. Anyway, all right. So if you could have any guest, living or fictional, attend Kaboom-Con, who would it be? And don't say Jeremy Renner. We already heard about him.
If I could have any one guest, it's not even necessarily because I want them, but because I think that they would be such a draw from all aspects, all walks of life. It would probably be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Dwayne is he draw a lot of different people. Like the wrestling fans and movie fans and Disney fans,
sports fans, XFL
sports fans, yes, all of that stuff. And I actually recently I was never someone who watched wrestling growing up, WWE and all that stuff, but not terribly long ago, all the WWE, like the 1 year event thing that was put on every year was put onto HBO. So my husband got me watching some of them with him, and we got to see like The Rock win his first match and stuff like that. It was very interesting to kind of see like where he came from and how big, not just in acting, but physically he's gotten since then. Now, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own convention?
I would say if you're wanting to start your own convention is to surround do a lot of research and invest some serious time and money into understanding the craft. 2, surround yourself with people that are going to make up for your deficiencies, because you can't do everything. So find people that can help you. 1, that you trust, and 2, that, like I already said, they can help where you're not great. They can be.
Yeah. 100%. If you guys want to check them out, link in the description. It has kaboom-con.com and the Facebook and Instagram for it. But I also pop those into the chat for all of you to see. You can actually kind of see it in the bottom corner on the screen at the moment. Right, I put on all the links if you guys want to check those out. I want to show you also, you have a map basically of the layout, and I want to show everybody how big Kaboom-Con really is.
Yeah, so bear in mind, this isn't like done. A lot of these booths here actually are full. I just haven't thrown the logos in them yet. I'm still working on that. I apologize. We do have a few actually vacant booths still available on the main floor. I believe we have a total of 7. So don't wait. If you are a vendor, potential vendor, sign up.
Go to kaboomcon.com.
Yep. And we've got our artist alley over here. So these are smaller booths. It's hard to really put their logos in there. But we have 20 other vendors in that room. And down here, threw in some advertising on the theater for we're doing a couple of events that go along with the convention. So Friday night of the event, we're doing a Ghostbusters 2 movie screening and cosplay contest. So that's only $10 to get in. Come have a good time, watch the film. There will be concessions, and again, the cosplay contest that is specifically themed to Ghostbusters 2. You can wear whatever you want, but if you want to win the contest, it needs to be something Ghostbusters related. 2 specifically.
I absolutely love that the bathrooms are very obvious for people. No more like, hey, where's the closest bathroom?
Yes. And then, of course, we have our panels and presentation room. We'll have some also on the main stage, but the smaller ones will be over in that room, hosted by Pop Culture Kaboom. On the main stage also, Saturday night of the event, we have what we're calling our Ghost and Ghouls Masquerade Ball. And we've got 2 live performances, one from JD Charisma, who will be performing about a 40-minute set of his new album that's dropping later this year from start to finish. And then we have Fast Times Dance Party, which is a San Francisco Bay Area-based band. They're coming up for the event and going to be performing for a couple of hours. There'll be food and drinks and all that kind of fun stuff. And of course, a costume contest. So that'll be fun. And then we have our game room, which is hosted by 3 Arrows Games, where they'll have a lot of demo games and might even do some mini tournaments and stuff. Then down here, we've got Mickey Mouse and the Fantastic Worlds of Steamboat Willie. So again, that's Icy Sound Comics. It's kind of going to be set up as a museum with all of these large pieces of art, because the thing that's different about Lawrence and Diego Iriarte is everything is hand-drawn, hand-inked. And they do everything big, generally 11 by 17 or 12 by 18 in size, and then reduced to a panel in a comic.
Okay, so they draw digitally and then reduce it in the size.
No, they hand draw and
hand. Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant like hand by like, yes, I do it by hand, but sometimes there's people who do digital and traditional.
Yeah, no, they will do color digitally sometimes, and sometimes they'll do watercolor or by hand, but definitely the actual sketches and inking is done by hand.
That's fantastic.
But that room will be set up kind of in a museum where there are going to be all of these huge pieces that'll be in the first issue that will be coming down the road.
Okay.
And then out here in the theater lobby areas where we've got all of our nonprofits and cosplayers and stuff like that set up. So, and bear in mind, this is just the inside of the facility. We also have a West Side parking lot, which has a number of vendors, but I don't have that map set up and ready yet.
No worries. But thank you for sharing the map and all the really cool areas that people can see what they're going to come across. We actually have a question from Kevin Hogan in chat. How does the city permit for cons work, and does each vendor need a license, or does that con let any registered vendor fall under an event permit?
Yeah, so this is going to be different based on the locale. So in Nevada, it's super friendly to the outside vendors. It's a little bit more challenging for the organizer myself. So with the city, I work with, because I'm using the Carson City Community Center, I'm working with them. They actually deal with all of the permitting, and I just pay them. That's included in my costs. For the specific vendors, they don't need to have their own license. Now, if they're selling, they probably should be registered with the Secretary of State or with taxation or whatever. But that's not my job to inspect them. Now, if they're a food or beverage vendor, which we do have quite a few, they will need to have a specific event license that they can get through the city. But again, every locale is going to be different. So what is here, I couldn't tell you if that's the same somewhere in California or Idaho or
yeah. I sell photography prints, and I went and did a vendor fair once, and we had to have a seller's permit to be able to just register. So, and it's not hard to get one. But you have to, it's kind of interesting too, because I'm not embarrassed anymore to admit it, but I sold nothing at that vendor fair. And part of it was because a lot of that vendor fair was handmade craft stuff, and mine were like professional photography prints on canvas and stuff like that. There's quite a difference in price in those two things, and I think that was where, like, it just, the communication of what I thought it wasn't in my head. But the following like year or something, they were wanting to get like a tax report about how much I sold. And that was the only vendor fair I ever did. And I called and I'm like, I never sold anything. They're like, oh, okay, never mind then. Just put it to the side, like, it's all right. And so I just never renewed it, because I don't plan to do that again, because it's not just because it wasn't necessarily enjoyable, but because I just realized I don't mind selling prints like more personally. I prefer that kind of thing where it's like with a not fashion shoot, goodness gracious, like a regular photo shoot with family, and then they can order their own prints from the website. But I also sell digitals of those things and stuff like that too. So, okay, that totally has nothing to do with what the interview was about. But then we were talking about permits and stuff. I don't remember. So when I did the convention for Kaboom-Con 3, I don't recall having to need a permit they let us book the place without any issue and stuff like that. And the actual vendors were all planned with a van. I just did like the arranging of the rental, doing some marketing, stuff like that. That's what I did. Like, I even made shorts to put on YouTube and we're showing the guests and stuff like that. So, but permit wise, I don't think we needed specific like event permit ourselves when we did that there. So that was an answer to your question, Kevin, and it kind of took us on a whole side stream there too.
Those are the best questions.
Yeah, and I'm actually really looking forward to listening to the audio drama, the Oak Ridge series one. Like, I'm wanting to jump on there. I'm like, ooh, okay, write that down, because I have it saved now. I have a little control panel where I save all the links that I'm posting. So now I have it saved in there, so I can go check it out later. Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing Kaboom-Con and what went behind it, the pettiness of the start, which I love, because look how well you've done. It wasn't just better, it was like astronomically better when you see that you're having those good problems of not enough space for how many people are coming and signing up to be vendors and stuff like that. So really enjoyed it. If you guys want to check out more with Mark Helton on Kaboom-Con, you can look in the description. We have kaboomcon.com, the Facebook and the Instagram. We also throw links in the chat for the audio drama and ICU Sound Comics. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy to have had you on the show, and maybe we'll have you back on again after the next one.
I'm always happy to come on.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, guys, that was Mark Helton from Kaboom-Con. That was a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm gigantic. Okay, now I'm smaller. You can see our show name. That's important to know our show name. And thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, Mark. Feel free to just do whatever you want for the rest of the time. But anyway, so if you guys want to check out the stuff, yes, check the description below. You can also help support our channel in many different ways. You guys know we have a patreon.com/KyberCave Productions where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. That helps support my time editing and subscriptions I need to be able to use the music and stuff like that for this show. You can go to kybercave.com and get yourself any of the merchandise from kybercave.com. You can go to kcpmerch.com and you can purchase some merch for the channel, which those boxes right here, That was merch I ordered from the merch store that we're going to have for conventions in the future. So make sure to check those out. You can also hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget that every 100 subs, we do a Saber giveaway. And the next one, which is 3,000, we're going to be doing a NeoPixel. So make sure you share, and tell people about our show. And thank you so much. Don't forget to check out Retro Alcove. Our buddy Graveyard makes a video every week where he plays along with a retro game. And then one last thing before we go, guys, we have Guess That Character. You'd think you drank down, but we still have Guess That Character to do, guys. We still have Guess That Character. We can't leave Guess That Character and not do it. So, who is this? You know, it could be a lot of different people. Hi, Matt Granda. Well, that doesn't work. Who is this? Who do you think this might be? Vader, Captain Phasma. Okay. Another Darth Vader Phasma. Yeah, you guys are repeating them. But yes, okay. Which a lot of those I can understand why you'd think that. I can definitely understand that. But who is it? Who is it? Captain Phasma. You guys are right. It's Captain Phasma. Phasma, a human female stormtrooper captain of the First Order, grew up as a member of the Sire clan in the nuclear ravaged world of Harnassus, where she became a formidable warrior, eventually becoming the clan's military leader. During a battle, Finn and his companion Rose were able to overpower Phasma, resulting in her falling to her death, plunging into a fire that was consuming this stricken ship. So, that is Captain Phasma. All right, the next one. Who do you think this is? I would know, I think, from the silhouette myself. That's because I like this character a lot. I'm going to edit this layout just a little bit. There. There. Now you can see me a little better. Who do you think this is? General Leia. Okay. You'll find out soon if you're right or wrong. I like the music. It's very chill. All right. Well, who this is? It's Mon Mothma. So you guys know Mon Mothma, also affectionately known as Double M, was a human female Chandrilian, can't even say it right, politician and revolutionary leader who was one of the Alliance to Restore the Republic's founding members and its civilian leader. The end of Mothma's chancellery brought a close to a period of unity in the Republic, with several political factions, such as the centrists and the populists, breaking out in disagreement over the best future of the new government. So that is your nerd. That is not your nerdy news. My goodness, I just guessed that character. And what we have for it this week. All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Mark Helton, for appearing on our show and telling us a lot about Kaboom-Con and how it got started. Thank you so much, James Kaiser, for being our flow producer and bringing us a flow, every week that we can enjoy. And yes, you can tell sometimes when I talk a lot, I do still have my little bit of a cough, but it's going away pretty quick. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thank you, KCP fam. Thank you, Wrath, Say Wong, Duran, Night Vision, Brent Wakefield, Matt Granda, all coming in and saying hello. And I really appreciate Fat and Black Connection. I really appreciate seeing your name there. You're a new name for me. Kevin, really appreciate you. Miss you. I miss your reports. Anyway, guys, you have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.